All right, we are about to dive into the truly fascinating world of our dreams. And no, I'm not talking about those run-of-the-mill dreams, about being late for work or forgetting your keys. We are going after the big ones, the epic, almost cinematic stories that play out in our minds while we sleep, because we're going to uncover their really surprising origin.
You know exactly the ones I'm talking about, right? Those dreams that feel less like a simple replay of your daily stress and more like a blockbuster movie, something that's tapping into a feeling that's, well, vast and universal.
Maybe you've had one, a dream about a war you've never been in, or about some major social justice issue, or even something as deeply intense as children being in danger. These are huge, collective themes that our brains somehow build, even if we have zero direct experience with them.
And that right there is the central mystery we're looking at. How on earth does our brain take these little mundane scraps from our day and weave them into these grand collective epics, all while we're totally out of it, completely unconscious?
Well, it turns out the answer lies in one of our most powerful, most human emotions, empathy. But here's the really wild part. In the world of dreams, empathy does not work at all like you think it does.
So, when we're awake, we experience empathy as this single, whole feeling. You see someone suffering, and you feel that sense of connection, of understanding their pain, all in one go. It's the glue that connects us to each other.
But this is where it gets really weird. The moment we fall asleep, that single, unified feeling of empathy, it doesn't make the trip with us into our dreams. Now, instead, our brain does something pretty remarkable. It takes empathy and just shatters it into its most basic emotional pieces.
Researchers actually call this the decomposition process. You can see it here. That whole feeling of empathy gets broken down into its raw ingredients. A little bit of fear, some compassion, a dash of anger, maybe some hope. It's kind of like your brain becomes a chemist, isolating all the individual elements to figure out what this powerful emotion is really made of.
Okay, so now our brain is just sitting there with this pile of emotional spare parts. The obvious next question is, how does it put them all back together into a story that actually makes sense? How do you build a narrative out of fragments? And this, my friends, is where we get to enter the dream factory. Now, neuroscientists have a much more technical name for it, the Brain Kinematics Model, or BKM. But honestly, dream factory is the perfect way to picture it. It is literally the assembly line where all those emotional bits and pieces get put back together.
And here are the key workers on the factory floor. You've got the amygdala, which is basically in charge of cranking up the emotional intensity. The hippocampus acts like the scriptwriter, piecing together the plot points. The prefrontal cortex, that's the editor, adding in all the moral judgment. And those cortical attractors, just think of them as the theme department. They provide the big universal ideas for the story, things like innocence or justice.
I know, this all sounds a little abstract, so let's make it way more concrete. Let's take a real dream and run it through our factory to see exactly how it gets built, step by step.
Okay, check this out. Here's an actual dream from the source material. It is intense. You've got a conflict, you've got vulnerable children, and public judgment. This is the perfect example of a dream that feels so much bigger than one person's everyday life. So, let's break this down. The first part of the story is the kids' lives were at risk. If you look closer, you can see this isn't just one single feeling. It's actually a potent mix of compassion, deep anxiety, and a really powerful sense of urgency.
And what about the next part of the dream? People were criticizing their opposition. This piece of the story was built from a totally different set of emotional bricks, a strong feeling of moral judgment, and this simmering anger at the injustice of it all.
And right here is where it all clicks into place. You can see exactly how the dream factory operates. The anxiety and anger are getting amplified by the amygdala. That moral criticism is coming straight from the prefrontal cortex. This dream isn't random at all. It's a carefully constructed story, woven together from very specific emotional signals being processed in different parts of the brain.
So here's the big idea. Your dream isn't just some random movie. It's a brilliant reconstruction. Your brain takes the emotional leftovers from your day, a little flash of anxiety here, a moment of compassion there, and uses them as the raw material to build something that feels absolutely epic and universal.
And this incredible mechanism actually has a name. It's called self-other strain coupling. Now, I know it sounds super technical, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It's just the process that builds a bridge between our own personal feelings and those big collective ideas.
See, it's pretty straightforward, really. On one side, you have your personal strains, your own anxieties, your fears, your concerns.
And on the other side, you've got these collective attractors, those huge universal themes we all recognize, like innocence or injustice. Self-other strain coupling is simply the spark that connects the two.
And this is the magic trick your brain pulls off every night. While you're sleeping, the emotional energy from your personal little stresses starts to resonate with these massive collective ideas. So your personal stress about, say, a work deadline can suddenly latch onto the universal idea of innocence and danger, and bam, you're suddenly dreaming this epic story about protecting children in a war zone. So the next time you wake up from a dream that felt way bigger than you, don't just brush it off. Ask yourself, what tiny, personal feeling from my waking life got supercharged into this massive story? The answer isn't just a dream, it's a map, and it's pointing directly to what your subconscious really, truly cares about.